What's up, everyone? It's Zoko with another New World video. You guys don't realize this, but I recorded this whole thing already, but my mic was muted. So actually I didn't record anything except my stupid mouse moving around the screen. Whatever. Alright, so I've put out a few builds at this point and decided to do one that was getting requested by multiple people. And so today I have a tank build for everyone. I will say I feel a bit silly with how the skill trees are. You will know why when you see it. But as always, I'm going to go over the skill trees and we'll talk about how the skills compound onto each other. I'll tell you right away, you need a full constitution set up here, and we are going heavy thick boy armor. Again, pure tank. I will talk later about some minor adjustments you can make to deal some damage and, shift not necessarily fully into a DPS role, but just, do some more damage, contribute a little bit more. But that is not really the focus of this setup. I'm going to say right out of the gate, you should probably level up first before switching to this. Leveling in this pure tank build is going to be awful. It just is. It's not for leveling. Let me also mention really quick, I have a few builds out at this point and plan to do more in the future, so please consider subscribing if this is the type of content you are interested in. Also, liking the video does wonders for it as well, and leave me a comment on what you hope to see in the future. I also do some streaming on Twitch and have been seeing quite a few of you over there recently. Really enjoying the conversations we've had so far. Alright, back to the build. Personally, I think this is going to be the most beneficial in wars. I think even in expeditions, your group will be needing some DPS from you until we get some version of a trial in this game. I just don't think this will be as viable in the PvE type of content. We hardly take any damage, but we hardly do any as well. Think of us like RoboCop, but with rubber bullets. Starting off with the sword and shield skills, we are, as you probably guessed, in the defender tree, but we are also staying in this tree, which is where I feel a bit silly. Let's start off the tree with our first active skill, Shield Rush. With this, you push forward 5 meters, knocking back enemies and dealing 125.4%, strange number there, weapon damage. Sturdy Shield grants 15% physical armor. With Sturdy Grip, stamina damage is reduced by 15% when blocking a melee attack with a shield. With Shield Bash, deal 50% weapon damage and stun enemies in front of you for 2 seconds. A taunt gem will affect this if you decide to go for PvE content. Elemental Resistance reduces damage from all magical types by 10%. Very important because we are reliant on our other players to take care of them. The mages are more likely focused on trying to take down our healer in a war situation because, honestly, that is just the fastest way to kill us. Defensive Training, when you block an attack, gain 10% Fortify for 5 seconds. This is going to reduce incoming damage even more. Being a tank, we are doing a lot of blocking, and there is no mention of a cooldown here. With High Grip, stamina damage is reduced by 15% when blocking a ranged attack with a shield. Intimidating Bash, Shield Bash now causes greatly increased threat and 100% more damage. One with the shield, when you block a shield with all shield skills recharge 1%. Basically, our shield skills are going to be recharging very fast because of this. Improved Rush is going to improve our Shield Rush ability. On successful hit, all enemies within 5 meters gain 10% weaken for 4 seconds. Skills like this is why your tank is frequently the shot caller. He can coordinate focused attacks after utilizing something like this. For instance, call for any mages with AoE effects like Meteor Shower or Ice Storm to drop those spells here as you make a focused pushback. With Defiant Stance, for 8 seconds, reduce the incoming base damage from attackers by 30%. This will also be affected by a taunt gem. Massive cooldown here of 45 seconds. With Final Blow, the third attack in your light attack chain deals 15% more damage and causes more threat. This would be useful in a PvE situation, but for PvP it's actually pretty pointless. Now you may find Empowered Stab in the opposite tree better. This will grant Empower after a heavy attack, which increases your damage for about 5 seconds. I leave that call up to you though. With Invigorating Bulwark, you gain 15 stamina when hitting a target with Shield Bash or Shield Rush. This can help a little bit with our stamina sustain. As a sword and board user, stamina is almost like a health bar. If it depletes, we are in significant trouble. With Final Countdown, if your health is above 50%, damage reduction is increased by 20%. This is important to make sure your healers know this. If they can keep you above 50% health, the strain on them is actually a lot easier. Concussive Bash, Shield Bash duration is increased by 1 second. Now with Intimidating Rush, a hit with Shield Rush now slows all enemies within 5 meters for 4 seconds. That is huge. As someone who has frequented melee builds for years, nothing is more frustrating than losing your movement. Recuperation, all incoming healing and regeneration is increased by 10%. Again, making your healers' lives easier. And Restoration now restores 15% of your max health at the end of the Defiant Stance. And finally, Defensive Formation. While blocking, reduce damage to all allies within 2 meters by 30%. This is why people tend to crowd around the tank to fight with them. You are essentially buffing yourself if you are running next to a tank with this setup. Now this is important. This ability does not stack if there are two tanks next to each other both running this. You do not get both effects. In fact, it seems to be bugged right now because if two people are running it next to each other, it will actually cancel each other out. So you really need to coordinate tanks to be a good distance apart. Maybe one tank per flag, one tank per group, however you need to organize it. Maybe other tanks have an alternate build that isn't using this part of the skill. This is why communication is so important. Hopefully it's just a bug and it gets fixed soon. The effect definitely shouldn't cancel out. Maybe just one of them taking effect is fine with me. I'd be okay with that, but both of them going away is a problem. Now moving on to the Warhammer abilities. First up, we are grabbing Outnumbered. This is going to increase our damage absorption by 10% when we are surrounded by 2 or more enemies within 5 meters. Clear Out is a fun active skill where you do a wide swing of the hammer that knocks any enemies in front of you back 4 meters to create some distance. It also deals 115% weapon damage. I Can Do This All Day is going to reduce stamina consumption by 30% when blocking melee attacks. Shockwave is an active skill where we smash the hammer into the ground, causing a 3-meter earthquake around us. This will deal 80% weapon damage and apply stun to all enemies, affected for 2 seconds. A taunt gem will affect this skill also if you decide to use it for PvE purposes. With Power Cleaner, hitting a target with Clear Out is going to grant Fortify to all enemies within a 6-meter radius. This will be a 10% damage bonus that lasts 4 seconds. Guarded Spirit reduces damage taken by 10% while sprinting. Not sure sprinting is the word I would use for the peak speed of a tank, but we'll go with it. Acceleration reduces Warhammer cooldowns by 7% when using light attacks against targets with an active debuff. Frailty will add Weaken to Shockwave. This will decrease damage dealt by the enemy by 10% for 10 seconds. That's quite a long time for a debuff. Facilitated Expedition. After hitting a target with an active debuff, obtain haste, increasing movement speed by 15% for 3 seconds. This is another one I'm kind of meh about. Being a tank, we are quite stationary, so if you wanted to switch this out, I would suggest Epitome of Bonk. This is going to increase Armor Pen by 10% for all Warhammer standard attacks. For Concussive Impact, plus 15% damage will be applied to targets affected by Warhammer debuffs. Keep in mind, that's pretty much all their skills. Path of Destiny, a powerful ground strike that erupts a linear wave of energy in front of the player and deals 110% weapon damage to all targets in its path. There's a pretty big cooldown of 22 seconds on this one, so be aware of that. Meteoric Crater is going to expand the effective range of Shockwave to a 4-meter radius. Clean and Refresh will lower Clear Out's cooldown by 5% for each enemy hit with the ability. Prevailing Spirit, you regain 35% of damage dealt as health when you're using a Crowd Crusher ability. That is actually really nice. I'm always a fan of abilities that do damage and heal you. Seismic Waves will now cause Path of Destiny to stagger all enemies in its path. Resurgence, after 2 light attacks with the Warhammer, debuff durations on player are reduced by 25%. You can only trigger this once every 5 seconds. If you switched out the Facilitated Expedition from earlier, I would consider picking up Exhaustive Attacks instead of this. This will apply Exhaust to all Warhammer attacks, which slows stamina regeneration by 15%. That is just another debuff the enemy has to deal with. Swing Away is the last change to the Clear Out skill. This will grant us haste, increasing movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. With Stimulated Reduction, Path of Destiny's cooldown will be reduced by 5% for each enemy hit. And finally, Aftershock. Whenever a target is affected by a crowd control effect, which, to be clear, is any of the skills we use with the hammer, they are slowed by 20% for 4 seconds. Alright, those are the skills. If you're wanting some more damage, just take some Constitution out and pump it into Strength. You'll still be tanky, but obviously you'll be dishing out a bit more. I would also adjust the skills like I mentioned a bit earlier. For the gear, again, you want to go heavy, heavy, heavy. Running 4 Malachite gems in your armor along with maybe 4 Onyx or 4 Opal or a mix of both will be very beneficial to gaining some extra resistances for what you will be dealing with. Malachite in your weapons will aid in more damage against CC'd opponents, which, again, because of the Warhammer, is going to be practically everybody. The strategy here for using this is pretty straightforward. When you guys are making an offensive push and you feel like you have the ability to be more offensive, set up your team by taking out your hammer and dropping some of those crowd crusher abilities. Remember, those affected by your abilities are able to take more damage, so communicating that is going to be extremely important so damage can be focused on them. This is going to help you cut through those enemy lines much more efficiently. As soon as a counter push comes in and your team gets forced back, you will probably want to switch back to your sword and shield and turtle up. Once your team rallies and is ready to push back, utilizing something like shield rush at this point and stunning some of your opponents while weakening them can really help your own counterattack when the time comes. While not doing a ton of damage, your role in the war very much controls the tide of battle. You have a significant amount of responsibility. I'm going to say it again, a big part of success in a war with this is going to be the coordination on your part. If you are using this, you should be vocal, directing focused attacks, calling out any enemy advancements you are seeing that maybe people a bit further back might not be aware of. You are extremely reliant on them for success, and they are reliant on you probably even more so. If you are in some Discord and someone else is calling or coordinating, but you're still tanking, you will likely have a rough time if you are not able to talk at all. Consider dropping a like and request in the comment section on what you're hoping for next. I got a lot coming in, so I can't guarantee when I can get to you, but I'll do my very best. Also, swing by my Twitch if you get a chance. We've been having a great time over there, theory crafting, joking around, and generally just being kind of silly. Thanks for the support. You all are awesome. I'll see you in Eternum.